This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, calling to order the meeting of the Ad Hoc Grant Search Committee for June 6th at about 12:05, and we have Bruce and Alice here, and Kate, I'm thinking, is still going to be in surgery or too groggy to join us, so that's okay. Bruce, I don't see any open time for the public here. Bruce, we do have, if I can share this, we do have one set of minutes I would like to just approve, and that was the one from last meeting that Kate did, I believe. Of course, if I can find it. There we go. So the one from 6/2,
Gotcha.
which was just still fresh in our minds, just talking about what we were going to do here. So if you have, I think Kate sent it around in draft, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, she did. And I move to accept the minutes.
All right, I'll second that. And all in favor?
Aye.
Me too. Okay. All right, we'll get rid of that one. All right. So since then, lots of things have happened. I've had a email communication with Anya Duffy, who is the person who's the engineer, landscape architect, basically out of GZA, the company that had done the design work for us, and it had also done the master plan for Conant Park. She was very happy to hear from me again. It's like, oh, I was wondering what happened to you guys. So lucky thing, they have not closed out the account yet. So they're willing to continue with us if we want to continue. So that was a good thing. Let me just put up a couple of my notes from my conversation here, if I can find those real quick. And I'll send these around afterward. I just finished typing them. So basically, they had done their last work for us in somewhere toward the middle of the fall of 2023. So the total contract at the time was $38,423. She couldn't be sure, but she thought there was maybe about $8,000 remaining on the contract, and just reminded me that this had started out as a feasibility study, and then it turned into, we modified it and had them do a full design and drawings. And then they also had to go prepare an RDA, a request for a determination for wetlands in front of the Conservation Commission. And that happened, I believe, in May of 2023. And I have the notes from that meeting as well on file. And just briefly, I won't go through all this, but she reminded me that this had turned out to be a redesign, in a sense, that the idea of a splash pad turned itself more into a low volume spray deck, partly because we had considerations about the amount of drainage, septic issues, stormwater issues, etc. And so what this is now designed is a, let's see, she had about a 25-foot diameter circle with about 28 gallons per minute flow. So that's very, very low. It's a little bit of water splash out in one of the features, but it's mostly more misting than anything else. It's usually about a 4-minute time frame, and there's a particular button that has to be activated by the kids, as with just about any of those parks. There's no standing water whatsoever. The water goes back into a drain, and they had figured it out, and I guess this is through the Conservation Commission helping, hear their plan anyway, that was not opposed to it, that somewhere the water would be, whatever's there would be piped in under, sort of toward the edge of the parking lot, the way I understood it, kind of where that ravine is, where there had been some riprapping done there. That's what I thought, but we can clarify that later on. There had been some discussion about a rain garden near the other side of the driveway as you move up to that little small play structure on the way up to the courts. It's kind of a dip there, and that had been talked about as maybe a possible rain garden area. Nothing had been designed on that yet, but you said, if that were the case, then possibly is that water from the splash pad, spray deck rather, could drain into there as well. because there's an existing culvert and that all goes down into this area that they had programmed for the actual drainage of the water. Um, she, noted that we had bought the equipment, so we don't really need any design services. We've got a full design, so all we would need is construction. We'd have to put out an RFP to various landscape type companies, and obviously look at not only the lowest bid but qualified bidders. So there'd be, on a project like this, she thought there would be probably a general contractor, and then as needed, they would bring in subs. So if they needed an electrical person or a paving person, they would do that. She didn't know for sure on the costing. She would have to go back and look at her files, but she thought it was still probably around 150,000 to get the whole thing done, including the walking path itself. There is a system in Springfield that has been recently installed, so she was going to provide that information. I know Scott really wants to go visit something before we move too far with this, just to see what it's really like and what concerns anybody might have for maintenance or other things. And she also suggested that we might talk to the program coordinator and just fill her in terms of how far we are. She wasn't sure. I said, I don't know if we're on good terms or bad terms because we didn't use all the grant. But she thought that it would be worth letting them know that we have all the design work done. We have the master plan done now. We are ready to do the grant now. And, normally this is a grant that has 2 years associated with it, one of which the first year is usually design and the second year is usually construction. So technically we're ready for the construction start. If we can, put in for that, is that even possible to just apply for the construction portion under this grant program? So she suggested maybe a telcon with her to get more clarity on that, whether it was worth our time to do that or not. And then she's willing to have a telcon with anybody that needs to be, from parks to highway to Scott, who's new, and the new health director, just to sort of re-explain this whole thing. So that was all quite positive. I'm just going to show you now. I don't think I sent this around. This is the construction drawings that she sent me this a couple of days ago here. So let me pass this little thing. It's it's very tiny to read, so I won't even pretend here, but it really is in great detail.
You actually did send that around.
I did send that around. Okay,
yeah.
So this is the part. This is the part here that is the splash pad. If you get to this little thing, what says Vortex on it. So this is what we have actually purchased. We have this sitting in the highway garage, to my knowledge. And this was kind of what it looks like. So that's what I was trying to remember last time. I said these kind of misting features, but there's a couple of fun froggy features. It's nothing terribly fancy, but it does do the job. She said it would definitely be a cooling area, and not running all day. It would be activated when the kids run through it, basically. So that's kind of the information we have there. We did find out through the town accountant. We met with Scott and the town accountant and Mark Cassis, who's heading up the CPC committee, and tried to figure out finances on this. We had spent an invoice to the grant, some $69,000 altogether, and that basically, let's see, there was 30, some of that was CPA money, and then the grant money itself was like 69,000 at invoice. We get reimbursed 66% of that per the state regs on this particular grant program. It's not a 50-50 or 80-20. We got 66% back. So that's why we saw that we had 46,000 revenue coming in, and that was our reimbursement for the state from this. So out of the $100,000 grant, we basically, didn't use more than the 69,000 combined, and that includes the CPA money too. So the grant money is over and done with, but there is still some CPA money. So just as a reminder, we applied or tried to apply for the $100,000 grant. We were asking for 86,005, I believe, from CPC, and then Parks Commission was going to fundraise another 6. The latter never happened, so that's kind of neither here nor there at this point in time. But we had to, per town meeting and the regs of the grant, I think I said this last time, we had to obligate the full 192.5. We had to show that we had approval to do the full 192.5. So if you take off, what doesn't count right now, the fundraising and so forth, and the money we've spent, it looks like there could be somewhere around 45,000 left under CPA that could possibly be spent on this from their side, because the condition was, as long as we get the grant, which we didn't fully use it, but we did get the grant, there could be CPA money left. And so when we get some of the reimbursement from the state, some of that, goes back to reimburse CPA too. But Mark is going to double check those figures and then probably bring it to a CPA committee meeting. But somewhere between the $45,000 and $50,000 is probably what still could be used from CPC land. Okay, so that's basically what we might have. What else do I know? Basically that. So I guess if we were to apply for the grant,
do we know how much?
Go ahead.
Do we know how much the total cost is that's left then?
No, she would have to update the figures, I think, because she was guessing it might be 150,000 to actually get everything installed, from the walking path as well as installing the splash deck.
Splash pad.
Deck. Yeah. So thinking maybe in the 150 range. Okay. So say we might have to go for 100,000 request to the grant committee, to the park committee, if we decided to do this.
Okay.
Probably a best guess. She's going to try and get some other figures. I didn't want to go too far with her since we haven't really told them that we're going to keep on going. I know Scott would like to go and visit a place and take Randall with him and just be sure that, we've got, and all of us, anybody who wanted to go, to be sure that we're all clear on some of the ups and downs and any questions we can have. But definitely the volume is a whole lot less. So a lot of the questions that people had early on, septic issue doesn't seem to be a problem. There's no standing water. 28 gallons a minute is very minimal. And a lot of that is going to evaporate. So that's kind of what I know. So I'm kind of thinking her advice to maybe reach out to Melissa is not a bad idea. I'm a little leery about it, but I'd rather wait and talk to Scott first and talk it through a little bit and see what he thinks. But that could be probably a next call, just to see whether, given that we didn't fully perform on the last grant, are we in good graces or not? I don't know. Hard to know, but hopefully we would be treated fairly. And see if though there was a way to say, hey, look, we're ready now. We were really premature in our thinking and planning and our eagerness, but here we are. We've got all these plans now. They know, the park program knows GZA. They've worked with them before. They know that we've got a reputable designer. So there's no questions there at all. So I think it's more our decision in terms of, okay, are we ready to pull the trigger and keep on going on this? And if so, do we apply for the grant, and can we just do the construction part? So that's really the question. Could we just put in a grant for that? And given that we had gone through all that stuff, I showed you the grant application stuff from last time, all the environmental justice community stuff, I would not want to have to go through and do all that again. And it seems like it would be crazy to make us do that again. But I would definitely want to get clarity from her as the grant program manager before we spin our wheels and do something wrong. Right. So that's kind of where I'm at. So it's progress, but it's not yet total definitive answer. I don't know if you've got any questions. I can see if I forgot something else that I was supposed to do on this.
Well, Kate had a question about, do we have any, because of maybe anxieties in the town, if we need to go asking for money from the voters, as to what the ongoing maintenance expenses might be, and were there any and I didn't read through the whole thing. Are there any caveats during drought conditions that might restrict, like if the town is in a drought, are the hours restricted?
Hmm.
28 gallons per minute on 4-minute cycles. I wonder if a similar sized town or even a larger town can give numbers of, oh yeah, we ended up during an average month and say the thing is functional for June, July, and August and off the rest of the time. How much what was the usage time? And
Right.
then we might be able to calculate some of the, for those that are concerned on the
Yeah.
full transparency
Sure,
of
sure.
this.
No, valid point. And I think, um, again, it would require a little bit more digging in the files here, but when we started out, we had a different design in mind. In fact, Paula Mack on the Park Commission, her sister works with a lot of water play features and
Hmm.
she's a landscape architect, I think, or a designer herself. Not Paula, but her sister. And so she had put us and GZA in touch with them. And so we were working with an idea of a potential um, set of equipment from them, but that turned out to be both, I think, more costly, but also not the low flow whatsoever. It would have
Yeah.
been, much more extravagant, but I don't remember what that volume was. So certainly we can find that out. The one thing she mentioned on maintenance to me this morning was just that the activator control mechanism is kind of in that central blue spot, which is also the drain. It's where the
Hmm.
computer part is that
Hmm.
makes it all work. And she said that's the thing that has to be taken out during the winter and just charged. But there's not much because it's going to be I think it's a some sort of a. I'm not sure if it was cement now. I forget what the surface was, so don't quote me on that. But whatever the surface was, could be just sprayed down, you know,
Oh,
if it needed to be cleaned or anything like that, but wouldn't want to recommend adding any chemicals to it because
yeah.
eventually it does make its way underground there. So it didn't sound like there was a lot of maintenance on that part at all, from what I got from her. But that would be good to, again, if we can visit another group, another place, and talk to their maintenance people, find out some of that stuff too. But I'm sure that that ought to be findable in terms of
Yeah.
comparative stuff. And in a drought, I mean, I would think we would be the one, we, the park commission, would be the one restricting access. I mean,
Right.
say it's only going to be open from, I don't know, whatever,
10 to
noon
2
to
or
3 or
whatever.
something or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, I think that would be how, that could be controlled. And, we have those conditions from time to time in town for sure. Yet, it's hard to enforce them. I mean, I
Yeah.
can recall last summer, 2 summers ago, there are still people that water their lawns very, very frequently, when there is a drought condition. So it's
I
really a
just
hard
wonder
enforcement thing.
on the installation whether they can include a timer so nobody actively has to manage it. It's on an automated timer and is just
Hmm.
it's begins to cycle on at 10 to 2 or whatever, and then it's off even though people may try to use it. It just won't work.
That might be a possibility. I think you'd still, yeah, probably there could be something I would think like that. It seems like it would be logical. I mean, you'd still have to push the button. The kids would have to push the button to activate it when they
Hmm.
got there.
But an
But
external control.
right, there might be a limitation in terms of that way. To could be controlled, perhaps. Yeah. So I think there's probably things that could be figured out, to manage
Yeah, that
that a
sounds
little bit
good.
better. So I think it's not sounding totally impossible to me, but definitely worth checking a little bit more um, on this, and certainly finding out if it's worth our time to go ahead and apply for this. If we have the funds available from CPA, then that can get us quite a ways. Maybe that would get us the installation. Perhaps that could get us the installation of the spray deck, but not the walking path, or vice versa. So
Mhm.
I mean, it could be that much too, because we would have those funds able to be used. So okay,
And
is
with
that
that, do you think the Parks Commission would still have to raise the $6,000 too?
that would be really up to you guys. I think we were trying to show that we had community support, and so that
Right, right.
anything that you can
Well, I
show that.
think I think there's been some talk that we have some extra funds from something. We're meeting on Monday, so like
Okay.
I can, I can bring all this back to them and try to get an update on that.
Hmm.
I thought there was some talk that they have come up with some money that has to be used for something. I know they've talked about watering Legion Field and over there, or not Legion, Labrie Field,
Hmm.
and that. So I don't. Yeah, I'll bring it back to the commission for sure.
Okay, great. No, and maybe I don't know what my Monday nights are, but if I can manage to, is that a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting?
No, it's at an in person, and I think it's actually at Conant Park when it's nice weather. Doing
Yeah.
it
Okay.
outside
All
sometimes.
right.
Yeah,
I'll see if I can. I might just join in just if I can answer any questions. But
yeah. I
I'll
think
send.
it's at 5:30. I can forward you the agenda.
Okay. Oh, I can find it on my town gov. That's okay. That's fine. I
Oh,
can find it.
kind of went
Um,
on freeze here.
yeah. Okay. So why don't I'll send around this note from Anya, but
Okay.
I'll wait until she's going to give me the information from this other place. I got the impression it was in Springfield from what you said, so not far away, able to be visited. And then we can take it from there. So I think just we'll
Okay.
hold off for another few days and see where we're
Mhm.
going with this. And I'll talk to Scott on Monday about
Yep.
what he thinks about how do we
Okay.
approach the grant program itself. Okay. Yeah. And then Alice will be and
Okay.
Bruce we'll be back on Monday, but that's only going to be really for land grant with Mark. So Alice, you don't need to join us on Monday since I'll see you maybe Monday night anyway. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Super.
Awesome. All right.
All right.
Yep.
We'll let you continue on your
Okay.
travels. All right. Thanks for
Okay.
joining in.
All right.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Yep.
Yeah, Bruce. Yeah.
Okay.
As part of the exact location in Conant Park, is this by the old playground or different location?
It's up closer to the parking lot pavilion side. It's not down in
Okay.
the ravine
And
where a lot of the play structures are.
do you have any idea what the plans are for removal of the old playground stuff?
I don't exactly. They had been talking about it because they'd wanted to get new equipment because that stuff is terribly rusty
Mm,
and just dangerous, frankly.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if I know, and I don't know if it may be covered in their master plan. I'm not sure. That's on their master plan is on their park commission website page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's not a lot there, but that is there because I put it there. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I remember a year ago going there with our grandson, and it's sort of not a safe place to really be
um,
going anymore.
no,
And
and I've seen kids out on the swings and stuff, but it's not really
yeah,
great. Yeah,
yeah,
so I think
okay,
this is going to be up closer to the pavilion and that other small structure, that little sandbox structure. As you make your way
okay,
up to the courts, it's somewhere in that vicinity. I don't recall the exact placement of it, quite honestly.
okay. That
But
sounds
somewhere there. So
sounds good. All
yeah.
right, so
Right.
Monday is at 1:30?
12:30 actually.
12:30.
But
Okay.
yeah, if that works for you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And this
that
we'll
works.
just find out. I know the Open Space has been working to identify a particular property that they would like to be able to acquire and therefore put in a grant for. So we'll hear from Mark how far along they are with that property. But I think Kestrel is also going to help in with the grant. So this will not be a total thing on us. So we'll be, helping to provide whatever we can. But if Kestrel wants to do a large share of it, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
Oh,
bonus. That's great.
that's fine. So
Okay.
super. All right. Well, thanks, and thanks for
So,
bringing up those questions too. And I forgot I didn't think about your other one from the other day about the UV treatment, but I don't know.
well,
Doesn't sound
I
like it's necessary, but
it doesn't sound like it's necessary. I hadn't had a chance to read through the proposal and didn't know about the volume of water
yeah,
and yeah, so that's perfectly fine.
yeah. Yeah, and then I think one of those other documents I sent around was all that kind of is a long narrative that's marked draft. That's all
Hmm.
basically the technical specs that would be kind of part of the RFP. So, it would be part of what any landscaper company would have to do to respect all the earthwork removal and, landscaping and all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
that's a piece of work that they've actually already done. And part of their contract, and if they've got hours yet to be billed to us, which it sounds like they do, was to help supervise the overall construction phase too. Checking in every couple weeks to see how it's going and being sure that the contractor is doing what they're supposed to do according to the design that GZA made. So
Okay.
that's part of that, which gives me another level of comfort, rather than having somebody from the town have to do that, obviously.
Right. Right.
So anyway, I think we've got some good feedback here, but we'll give it another few days and see if we can get more clarity and then figure out a time where we can go visit Springfield. Maybe that would be good.
Okay.
Sounds good. All
So would
right.
you like me to move to close the meeting?
Think we could. Sure.
All right.
All
We'll
right.
see you.
Good. All right. We'll adjourn at about 12:30. I think it is 12:31.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.